All right, everybody, we got a fun one for you today, and it involves the first generation Apple TV. And we are going to install and run Windows XP on this thing today. Yes, that is right. You can install Windows XP on a Gen 1 Apple TV thanks to the incredible work of DistroHopper39B. So this project is something that popped up in my feed over on Twitter, and I just absolutely thought it was amazing just because the Apple TV Gen 1, looking up the specs, this is a 1 gigahertz CPU that sits somewhere between Pentium 3, Pentium 4 spec. It's got a 64 megabyte Geforce Go in it, and it's got 256 megabytes of RAM, making it just a perfect project PC for early Windows XP gaming, so early 2000s gaming. And so I just had to try it out. Like, went on eBay, got this for $15. Here it is, and we're going to get it up and running with XP today and just show you how to do it. Let's dive in. All right, let's start with getting to the hard drive of this thing here. So flip it over, and it has this soft touch stuff that is apparently glued down really well. This isn't my original unit. I bought this off of eBay, and it looks like they've wrecked this pretty hard when trying to get the glue off. So yeah, just be aware of that. Look pretty gross, but it looks like it just uses some Torx screws here to keep this in place. So just gonna get this opened up so we can get access to the hard drive. And it looks like these 4 screws down here are gonna be for the hard drive itself. All right, so there we go. Here, that just slides right out. Look at that. So yeah, that is an IDE hard drive. Wow, that's something else. All right, so we're gonna pull that out real quick. So I mean, this is pretty neat stuff right here. So we got a CPU cooler, Wi-Fi card, IDE hard drive. That's mind-blowing. Yeah, maybe I'll swap out the CMOS battery while we have this open too. Infrared. So yeah, that's neat. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get the hard drive taken out of here. So again, it's just on the back. Oh man, and these ones require an even smaller Torx than this one, so I need to go find one. All right, here we go. Found one that I need. And there we go. I have not seen an IDE 2.5-inch hard drive since like 2005. This is very reminiscent, but this is a 40 gigabyte drive, and it's the original Apple one that was in there, so that's cool. So now that we got access to the hard drive, we're going to flash a pre-made Windows XP image to this one to get it to run on the Apple TV. And so I'm going to be using the Deco adapter today. And so it is able to use any IDE 2.5, 3.5 SATA drive, so it's really convenient. So see right there, it plugs right in, and we'll get this hooked up to the computer. And just as an additional note, there is a lot of hard drive incompatibility with this project. So I had originally wanted to use a SATA drive with this adapter here, but this adapter is not compatible with any of the drives I tried. So essentially, if you're going to try to use a SATA drive, you need to find an adapter that works, and this generic one unfortunately does not. And then you need to have a drive that is under 128 gigabytes. So like this 80 gig Seagate drive was what I was hoping to use, but it just ended up not working. So that is why I'm going to go with the original 40 gig drive that came with this Apple TV. But SSDs also are not going to work, so do be aware of that before diving in. All right, with that drive connected to the computer, we're just going to go ahead and get the Windows XP image for Apple TV from the NTATV GitHub page. Thanks again to DistroHopper39B for creating all of this wonderful stuff for us to play around with. This is incredible. But anyway, normally I'd be advocating make sure you have your own copy of Windows XP, make sure you do all this stuff right here, but this is far more complicated than I want to try to explain to anybody, so we're taking the easy way, even if it might not be 100% legit this time. Crap. Anyway, so just click on the download a pre-installed image from archive.org. On archive.org, you could just click on the download gzip option here, or you could go to show all and just download the gzip image right here. Doesn't matter. And then we need a program to flash this image onto our hard drive. So I'm going to be using Etcher for today's example. So I'm just going to download this. And this is available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And then just going to get that installed. So now that we have Etcher up and running, we just need to get this gzip image extracted so we can get to our hard drive image. So if you have 7-zip installed, go to the thing here and get it extracted. If you don't have 7-zip installed, just use whatever you normally use to get gzip extracted. If you can't extract gzip, download 7-zip. And now that that's extracted, we can open it up, and there we go. There's the disk image. Perfect. All right, so now we're just going to flash that image to our drive. So we're going to select Flash from File. We're going to navigate to where we have the image extracted. So we're just going to go ahead and select that. And when it says Possible Windows Image Detected, just go ahead and hit Continue. Now we're going to select our target. And you need to make sure that you're selecting the right drive. So for me, it's going to be this one because it's 40 gigabytes and not 5 terabytes. So I know that's the right one. So just double check to make sure you have the right drive selected. Otherwise, you're going to delete one of your own drives, and that's going to suck. So don't do it. But now I'm just going to tell it to flash. And we're going to accept the UAC warning here and then just wait for it to do its thing. All right, now that we're done with that, we can close out of Etcher. And if we unplug the drive from our computer and plug it back in, we'll actually get access to it. And now that our image is flashed, we're just going to go ahead and scroll down to the bottom of the guide here on the NTATV docs. And we're going to grab the NVIDIA driver. We're going to go to the Microsoft Update catalog, and we're looking for the driver from 9/26/2006. All right, so here we go. We are looking for the one from 9/26/2006, so this one right here for Windows XP. So we're just going to go ahead and get that downloaded. And now, to make our life easier, we're just going to go ahead and extract the cabinet file. And that will leave us with an extracted driver folder here for us to use on the Apple TV in just a moment. And then let's also go ahead and grab the updated drivers and utilities ISO from the NTATV releases page. So links to all this will be in the description below, but we're just going to go ahead and grab that. And if you don't want to have to install this to an actual physical CD and get a disk drive hooked up to your Apple TV, you can download WinCDemu 4.1. And we'll install this on the Apple TV once we get to that point to get all this nice and easy. So now that I have all of these ready to go, I'm just going to rename this folder real quick to... There we go. But we could go ahead and open up our drive, and we have access to our Windows XP partition here for the Apple TV. So we could just create a new folder in here and just name it something like drivers. Doesn't matter what you name it, just whatever you want. But we could drag all of those things that we're going to put on the Apple TV right in. So that way we just have easy access to them right within the Apple TV. Don't need any other external device for this. Like, this is nice. So we're going to have access to an emulated CD drive, our updated drivers, and then of course the Geforce driver as soon as we get it all booted up. All right, so now we can begin reassembling the Apple TV. So we're just going to get the hard drive hooked back up first because the standoff makes this nearly impossible to get hooked back up otherwise. Ask me how I know. But there we go. So hard drive hooked up. And now we just need to get it back into the plate here. So easiest way is to make sure that the raised part here is aligned with the ports. And then we can line it up just like so. Perfect. Now we'll just get it screwed in. All right. Now we can go ahead and get this all screwed down. So the longer ones go on this side. Probably help to use the right size drive. And there we go. Put that nasty rubber cover back on there. And there we go. So that's all set and ready. So I'm just gonna get some video hooked up to this. This is very curious. So the composite video doesn't work right now. So it is HDMI only, but HDMI audio doesn't work. So you need to use either RCA, which is low volume, or optical. So I'm just gonna go with optical. We'll get that hooked up in just a little bit. I just need video right now. So we'll get this hooked up with HDMI. And I'm going to get a USB keyboard hooked up only for now. We'll get a USB hub hooked up to this in a little bit. But I want to make sure to get these hooked up first before powering it on, because once you power it on, it is booting up. Like there's no power switch on this thing. It just goes as soon as it has power. And there we go. It is now beginning the boot up process for Windows XP. And there we go, Windows XP boot up screen. All right, and there we go. Windows XP is booting up. It's just getting some found new hardware stuff figured out. So that is pretty great. All right, so now I'm going to try to hook this up to a USB hub real quick just so I can get mouse support going on here. So I'm going to give this a try. And there we go, mouse support. Excellent. Now I've got keyboard and mouse. Perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and get our video drivers installed here. So again, we put a driver folder in here on our main computer. So that is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and get this installed. That way we have our CD emulation. Perfect. We're going to go to the start menu, My Computer, right click on this and click on Manage. Now under the device manager, we're going to go over to Display Adapters, right click on Apple TV Display, Update Driver. We're going to tell it no, we're not going to connect to the internet. And we're going to tell it to install from a list or specific location. And now we're going to browse over to where we put the driver. So here we go, Apple TV, Geforce drivers. Okay. And we're going to click on Next. And it will find the drivers and automatically get those installed for us. And then finish when done. And then it's going to need you to restart, so go ahead and do so. So once you get to this screen where it's telling you Windows is shutting down, and as soon as you can no longer move your mouse, that is when it is safe to unplug your Apple TV and plug it back in. Again, there is no physical power button on this thing. And now that the Apple TV is rebooted, we're going to get the hardware acceleration going here. So we're going to right click on our desktop, click on Properties, Settings. You'll get an error about the currently selected thing being invalid. That's okay. Just press OK on this. On Advanced. Now under Troubleshoot, turn hardware acceleration to full and then apply. And there we go. So now we have full hardware acceleration for our Apple TV here. And you can even set the output resolution up to 1080p if you want to. It's up to you for the desktop side of things. But one other thing I recommend doing in here is going over to the screensaver, make sure that it is turned off. And then under the power tab here, we're going to tell it to never turn off the monitor because, again, this thing doesn't exactly have a proper sleep mode. So we just need to make sure that it doesn't turn off without us wanting to turn it off all the way. So one last thing you could do with the video driver before you call it quits here is disable Turbocache, because this is a 64 megabyte VRAM card that is included with the Apple TV, but it will steal 64 megabytes of additional RAM from your system memory. So by default, the Apple TV comes with 256 megabytes of RAM, so it's really not a whole lot, but for the era of gaming that I'm hoping to achieve out of this thing, I only need about 128 megabytes. So the graphics card stealing an additional 64 megabytes isn't the biggest deal breaker for me personally, but if you would like to disable it, there is a registry hack that you can do to eliminate it. And so there is a forum post linked in the NTATV guide, and I will have it linked in the description below as well, that will show you which system registry you need to edit and how to do so. So now we can see that we have a C drive that is 8 gigs, and then we have the boot drive that's about 300 megabytes. So that leaves us a lot of leftover space on our drive to use. So if we go back into our start menu, right click on my computer, go to manage, go to disk management, you can see that I still have about 30 gigs of space on this drive to use. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new partition on this. We're going to use up all that space to make it. We're going to mount it. We're going to tell it to do a quick format. And I'm just going to name this games. Why the heck not? Next, finish. There we go. And there we go. So now I can begin installing stuff to this games folder, which I will do here momentarily. But now let's go ahead and update our drivers here. So we already got WinCDemu installed earlier, and now that we've restarted the computer, it is taking effect where we can easily mount this. So we're just going to tell it to mount to V here. And then when autoplay opens up, we're just going to tell it to open the folder. Going to open up our C drive. So the first thing we're going to do is run the HDD fix. And then we're going to overwrite the existing freeloader with the new one. And now we're going to go into our boot drive here. And inside the disk image, we're going to go into the boot drive here. And we're going to replace everything with the more updated versions. And there we go. So now everything is fully up to date. All right, let's go ahead and test out a game for this one. So why not? Need for Speed Underground, got the game discs here, got the patch for it there, and a crack for that patch right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this installed. And so again, this is why we have that emulated CD drive here, so we can easily just mount stuff. Great. All right, so there we go. Need for Speed Underground up and running on an Apple TV Gen 1. This is incredible. So I don't know how far we could really push this, but like go ahead and change up everything to its maximum. All right, so everything is maxed out. I don't know if I want to push the res up to full 1280 by 1024, but why not? Let's try it. We'll see how good this runs. So yeah, at full resolution, we're getting a noticeable slowdown here. So yeah, let's go ahead and optimize this then. So I plan on hooking this up to an HD CRT, to be completely honest with you all. So I don't need it to be that high res. I'm looking for 480p out of this box. So let's see what we get with 480p or 640 by 480 at highest settings. See, now we're talking. Like, that is really good. And once we get this hooked up to a CRT, it's gonna look so nice. And I mean, even then, we could still adjust some of the visual settings to make this look just really clean. Yeah, this really reminds me of the original Xbox version like this now. Alright, playing this game with a keyboard really sucks. Haven't hooked up a controller yet, but like we're getting amazing performance out of this. Like, this is great. This is great, and it looks great. Like, this is fantastic. Got some visual artifacting going on at lower resolutions, but something weird with this Apple TV apparently, but like that's okay. Like, this runs fantastic. All right, so just another demo for you all. This is 007 Nightfire's PC version. Vastly different from the console version, as you can see, but if you are more familiar with the PC version, this might just look normal to you, but regardless, we have it running at 640 by 480 with all settings maxed out. And it is looking really good and running pretty smooth. Some minor dips here and there. If I were to go in and adjust a few things, we could get this to be very smooth. And then we combine that with the CRT that I'm planning to hook this up to. This is going to be absolutely gorgeous. So again, just really happy with what the Apple TV is providing here with these early 2000s games so far. All right, so we're going to put this thing to the test with the Halo port for PC. This is a notoriously bad port for the era. It required much stronger hardware to run than the original Xbox, and even then it had a lot of issues with different PC builds of the era. So here we have it running on the Apple TV at 640 by 480 with everything maxed out again, and as you can see, it is struggling a bit. And again, it's honestly what I expected out of it. It's fully playable to me. I know that dips into the 20s are no-goes for a lot of people, but you combine this with a CRT, it's really not that bad to me personally, but if we go into the settings and just adjust a few things, we are actually able to get a much smoother experience out of this, and it still looks pretty good, and pairing it with the CRT will help mask some of this. So I'm actually pretty happy with what we're seeing here with this port of the game. Once we get into more open areas, it's probably going to tank a little bit more. We're going to need to downgrade things a little bit more, but I don't know. I'm going to play around with this and experiment with it, but for such a bad port of the era, it's handling it pretty well. All right, now for something that's a bit more PC focused, we have Command & Conquer Generals. I absolutely love this game. I've spent so many hours on it. So we have this one running at 800 by 600 with all visuals set to their lowest settings because the Apple TV is struggling with this one a little bit, but with everything set to low, it is 100% playable. We have some hitches here and there, which may be CPU bottleneck, GPU bottleneck, or storage bottleneck, I don't know. But overall, nothing deal-breaking. This is completely playable, and it's better than the way I played it back when it first released in 2003. And once we pair this with the CRT, it's going to smooth it out a bit, and this is not going to be a bad way to experience the game. Obviously, if I want the visual details, I'll just play it on my modern computer, but like, this is really authentic and cool. Now, I know a lot of you are wondering, can it run Crysis? And the answer is, well, not really. So the game installs, you're able to launch it, you can see all of the intro videos, and honestly, I'm surprised it even loaded into the main menu. From here, I was able to set everything to its lowest possible setting just to like try to see if it would run. And it was promising at first. The game actually started to load, but it took about 15 minutes for it to hit 100% load, and then it just stopped. The loading music kept going, but I let it sit for another 20 minutes and nothing ever happened. So I was forced to quit out of it with the task manager. So no, it does not run Crysis. I'm sure if someone has a more modified version of the Apple TV with extra RAM, maybe you might be able to see it get in-game. I don't know, but just a default Apple TV is not gonna do anything with this. And I didn't expect it to, but you know, I thought it would be fun just to include this for all of you. So there you have it, Windows XP running on an Apple TV Gen 1. Like, this is so insanely fun and cool. Like, I cannot wait to dig into this more. Tested about 10-ish games so far, so everything Gen 6 is running about as I expected. So we're able to max out a lot of things at 640 by 480, but once we have to crank the resolution up a little bit, it does see that performance dip where we're going to have to adjust some settings. But overall, like, really happy with this for a low profile Windows XP box. Like, this is really cool. And for anything older than Gen 6, like, we go back to Gen 5 type games, early 3D games, and it's just rocking those solid 60 FPS. So like Shadows of the Empire, Metal Gear Solid, just Rogue Squadron, that one still has the camera bug, but Battle for Naboo, like, it's running everything just beautifully and perfectly. And again, low profile, amazing retro computing box here. Like, this is just such a fun project, and I can't wait to see this as it keeps going on. Like, this initial release is just fine. It has everything we need, but just a few things. Like, if we could get the component video output to work, like, that would be really cool. HDMI audio would be cool, so that way we don't have to worry about having optical abilities, but network works, USB works. Like, it's about as easy and flawless of a retro computing project as you can get. So honestly, if you're interested in just having an early 2000s, late 90s era retro computer, $15, like, this, it's not bad. It really isn't bad, as long as you're not trying to push resolutions past 640 by 480 and expecting something to happen. But yeah, we're gonna be messing around with this one a lot, I think. Like, this is friggin' sick. Oh man. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and call it here for this one. Thank you so much, as always, for watching, everybody. This was an incredibly long one. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy seeing what the Apple TV Gen 1 is capable of as a retro computing device. But here at the end, just the usual favors to ask. If you haven't already, thumbs up, thumbs down, depending how much you like this video. And be sure to hit that sub button notification bell so you can see when new videos go live on the channel. Loads always coming your way, and I'd love to have each and every one of you along for the ride. For anyone interested in further helping support the channel to keep it going and doing fun little projects like this, also be sure to hit that join button here on YouTube or the Patreon link in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, as every little bit helps keep us going and picking up, say, random equipment like this for a video project. But big thank you to all of our current backers. We could not do it without you. Just incredible. Thank you so much as always. But until next time, my wonderful internet peeps, y'all keep gaming. We'll see you back next video.